Hello everyone, I'm Neeraj Mulani, the Director of Community at Product NX. Welcome to another episode of the Founder Spotlight series by Product NX, where we talk with startup founders as we dive deeper into what they're doing, their aspirations behind starting up, the challenges they have faced along the way, and much more. Today, I'm joined by Supriya, who's the co-founder of eMbrace, a mental health focused startup, and also a portfolio company of Product NX. I'm really delighted to have you on the show, Supriya. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Neeraj. All good.
Perfect. So, really excited to begin. I've been following the great work that you have been doing with Embrace for the past few months, and I'm looking forward to understand a little bit more about that. Tell us a little bit about how you got to the stage of starting Embrace. What was your background like? How did you decide to start Embrace?
I am a developmental psychologist by training, and I did a lot of my most of my training actually in the UK. So I was during my training, I was working as well in capacities privately as well as in the NHS, and started recognizing very early on that the difference in the services that are available over there in the UK versus the services available in India. And what was surprising was that while I was there in the UK, this was around 2015, 2016, families would contact me and say, can we have our child assessed? Can you see someone in my family for a psychology evaluation? And it was interesting that they were ready to fly from India and come to the UK to get an assessment done from an Indian, from me. So I felt that, okay, it's probably time to go back and see how we can do things differently in India. I moved back, and at that time, I didn't feel quite ready to start something of my own. But in 2021, I decided to take the leap of faith and said, okay, it's time to now jump into it completely and do something, build something that I had actually envisioned while I was there in the UK during my PhD. So Embrace happened in 2021. We are a COVID baby. COVID really pushed, I think, all of us to our limits, and mental health became the center in lots of ways for our conversations, what people were saying, and suddenly even government started focusing on mental health. January came, we started the mental health services at Embrace, and we're here now.
Perfect. And we've seen a lot of startups being born out of the pandemic as well as a lot of economic conditions also drive a lot of these startups to really be out there. And for the benefit of our listeners as well, if you could just tell us a little bit more in detail about what Embrace is, why you decided to start Embrace, and who are you trying to serve through it?
Started Embrace. Embrace is a mental health care organization. We have three broad services. One of the services is the online mental health therapy service. We also provide psychological assessments, and these happen both online and offline in person. And the third service is the developmental clinic, which is a secondary care unit that we've set up in where we're servicing children and adolescents. So those are broadly three areas of mental health care that we service. The vision that we started with was primarily to make mental health care services accessible and available, easily available. The other focus was to bring evidence-based quality services to the country and keep that as a core focus for us as an organization. It started with Neeraj. I've shared this story many times. When I moved back in 2017 from the UK, I was invited for a talk by NTPC for the employees who have children with neurodevelopmental disorders. And after my talk, I gave them, of course, this overview of best practices and what is the best sort of way to go forward with children who have difficulties. And after my talk, one of the employees stood up and he said, how can this be possible in Ranchi? And when am I opening my center over there? That's what he asked me. So that was the time where I actually told him, give me 10 years and I'll be in. That's the drive. That's the motivation. And that was where 21, I said, okay, it's been a few years. I need to give that answer back to this person who had asked me this question. So we've started small. We started with the online mental health care services because We thought that was one of the key ways in which we can serve a lot more. And that has helped because we do have a lot of adults who are calling us from remote areas of India to seek mental health services. And that's been really motivating. That's been quite promising. And that's where we want to go further now.
Right? Especially understanding the great work that is happening in mental health by eMbrace and a lot of other startups as well. About mental health as a segment really resonates with you? I understand you have a background in that, but what about that industry really resonates with you that makes you feel that this is the segment or this is the industry that I would want to contribute?
I think it started quite early for me personally, where I the it is an area, let's put it quite bluntly, it's an area that's neglected. First of all, right? Not many people are still paying attention to it. We don't have enough professionals. That, of course, is one of the things that drove me to start the business. But I think personally, what has been most motivating is the change that one can create in another person's life. And that's quite fulfilling. I know it sounds quite philosophical in some ways, but actually, for every one of us, where we are looking for work that is fulfilling, that gives us
Yeah,
satisfaction, and working and showing change and demonstrating and making actual productive changes in another person's life, that's quite fulfilling. So that's
yeah.
probably what has got us into mental health care, and all of us who are working in this field stay in it mostly. Yeah.
That's very inspiring as well. And you've been running for a little over 2 years now, but and no process of building a startup is without its fair share of challenges. What would be some of the biggest challenges that you have faced?
Lots, of course. Some of the biggest ones are, like, I think what all startup founders would say, getting it going and getting that courage to do something. So in a field that is so not talked about, used, and also which has a lot of taboo in our country, that I think took a lot, where fighting other people saying that, are you sure you want to do this? Why don't you just stick to a job? Why are you even thinking of it? How are you going to grow? So I think that societal questioning and pressure that comes with it,
Yeah,
that's definitely the starting. Otherwise, getting the right professionals, hiring, like all startup founders, that has been quite a challenge. We've struggled with marketing, trying to understand how to reach the people that we want to support and want to help. Then finally, also trying to see what's the best way to scale. How do we actually get to the number of people that we actually want to support? What should be the way forward? Which service do we expand first? Those kind of questions are always more challenging, and it's more like you're just trialing things out and see what works.
yeah. Right. And obviously, there are, like you mentioned, a lot of challenges that founders go through during the process of building a startup. And you are not only building a startup, but you're also building an industry by trying to provide the knowledge to the wider community around it as well. So that can obviously be all the more challenging. But through these challenges, we also see an opportunity to learn more about the company, the market, and yourself as a founder as well. And so what would you say are some of those key learnings throughout your journey of building eMbrace?
I think we're still in our baby phase, infant phase. So that learning process is just starting to come for us. What we've learned till now, you need to just push and you need to just keep at it. If you believe in what you're doing, you just need to keep at it. That's been my biggest learning from this. From an industry point of view, one of the key learnings has been that although you're listening about, and because we're in this industry, we do hear about so many different mental health care startups that are coming up and different organizations that are already there, NGOs and all whatnot. However, I think that the need is so huge, and it's that all of us put together are still very few.
Right.
So we really need to expand the industry and make it more lucrative for people to come in, because I don't think it's a very lucrative industry right now for people to come in. And I think startups would help because as the money comes in, you can make this industry more lucrative. And that is one of the key reasons why it's not. So that has been a big discount. And I think lastly, the learning has been about how to position ourselves, where everyone, a lot of the work that has been currently going on was with different NGOs or individual providers. And the other sector that came up, especially the startup sector that has come up was, so and what we are trying to do is we're trying to build something that encompasses all of
Right.
these different, so that we are not fragmented as a sector as much as we are, and we
Yeah.
can start coming together. So that's the goal, and that's basically what we see now as we're starting to grow.
Yeah. And I think, and over the process of building Product NX as well, Embrace, somewhere along the line, you decided to join hands with Product NX. What made you choose Peter Next as a partner to help you on your journey?
I was pleasantly surprised when you actually approached me. And I was thinking about what is it that we are doing, that we're probably doing something right, that an accelerator thinks that we are worth it. So that was a good sort of nod that we got for ourselves. But I think the key reason why Product Annex was quite an important partnership was in order to help support with some of the key areas that we're struggling with. One was the strategic planning. We don't have a very well developed business team, so supporting with that. And this whole idea of scaling, right? We are all professionals here. We are all with a psychology background. Yes, I have some background of running an organization, but still, I felt that we need help, we need support. And the Product Connect came with a huge sort of network of different people who could pitch in, who could support us at different times. And it seemed like a good option for us at this point in time.
Yeah, and thank you for that. It's always heartening to hear founders talk about the value being generated by Product NX as well. And especially with Embrace, what would you say success looks like? How are you defining success for Embrace? What are your aspirations with?
Good question, Neeraj, because I actually was thinking about this just a few weeks back, because it's interesting how most startups are, or actually most organizations are driven by the numbers. Right? We're all focused so much on revenue and all these numbers that we are. So I was thinking about what's the number that I want to focus on. And initially, the number that I had focused on was on revenue, that this is the revenue target, this is what we want to achieve, XYZ, this is the kind of funding we want to get, whatever. And again, maybe because of my background, I paused and I thought, what's going to help us get to that number? And I said, people. That's what is going to get the customers, the clients who we work with, right? So the target then shifted, and that's what we discussed in our team meeting. The target is for us to serve at least a lakh of people, and that will be success for us. If we are able to target 100,000 people and then move on to a million, that target, because that will automatically lead to the numbers that we're looking for, the revenue that we're looking for. So the push now is to change our mentality and really pushing to reach more and more lives. And I feel like because we're in the sector that we are in, that motivates the clinicians slightly more than just the
Yeah,
numbers.
yeah, that's very lofty and inspiring and a noble goal to chase after, and especially being able to affect that many lives positively as well. And I'm certain Embrace will be able to do that. You and your team are on the path for that. I usually love closing out the conversation with something that I believe will really help our community members. So, what is your advice to aspiring entrepreneurs?
It's hard. This whole journey is really tough. So I think clarity in what you want to achieve is going to be really important. And so what is it that I want to do? But why is it that I want to do that? Because that's really, I feel that is a big motivator in general for humans, for all people, right? Where if we have the why in place, we'll be able to keep ourselves going. When the why is a bit weak, then our motivation can fumble. So I think that's an important question I would say all founders to ask themselves, why do I want to do this? why am I building this product? Why am I getting into this sort of industry? What motivates me over here? So those are the key things. And I think somewhere, some reminding yourself, having that self belief.
Right.
Because, like I was saying, people will question you, people will ask you all kinds of things. But that self belief is really important to start, to keep going, and then to take it forward. And when that shakes, when that fumbles, I think that's the bit where one needs to rethink, am I in the right space or not? So, yeah, that's probably what I would say.
Yeah, and that's real quality advice, which I'm sure will help a lot of our community members. And I think it's been a great conversation. Thank you so much for taking out the time today, Supriya, and sharing your insights and journey with us.
No, thank you so much for having me here. Thanks, Neeraj. Thank
It's
you.
been my pleasure. Thank you.